Hey everyone, it's Jeannie here, and today I am so glad to be joined by two powerhouses, performers. They do so many incredible things. David and Jessica Oyelowo. Guys, thank you so much for taking time to chat with me.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be here.
So David, I talked to you years ago over the phone. This was
Ah,
before Selma. I think you were doing Captive at the time.
oh
And
wow.
it was wonderful to hear your faith story. And my audience is definitely geared towards the faith-based audience. I'd love to hear from both of you because I know you're strong believers about your faith journey and in the midst of all the success that's come since we last talked.
Well, gosh, it's so wonderful to speak to you again because Captive, I think, was our second film at our production company. The production company Jess and I run together, and The Waterman is our sixth film. So we've made a few films since then, and yeah, our individual faith walks. I mean, I became a born again Christian when I was 16. I met Jess when I was 18. She likes to say that she was a Christian from birth. Which I can completely believe. She sort of came out this way. And, you know, one of the beautiful things about our marriage has been that, you know, we married young, we were both believers, and our marriage, our faith, our careers, our family have all grown together. And so, you know, when the Bible says one will put 1,000 to flight, but two will put 10,000 to flight, you know, I feel like we are living embodiments of that. And that's been a real a blessing in our lives.
Mm.
That's beautiful. And I know faith is what kind of helped you guys initially connect because you were the only Christians, you know.
That's right. Yeah, we met in a youth theater when we were teenagers, and we happened to walk out the door at the same time to go to lunch. And so we just were like, hey, we didn't know each other very well at the time. You want to get some lunch? Yeah, let's get some lunch. Okay. And within about 5 steps, we discovered that David's grandfather was converted by English missionaries in Nigeria, and that my grandparents were missionaries in China. And we had this weird connection over our grandparents. I don't know how we discovered that so quickly. It was like, what do you want for lunch? Also, what did your grandparents do and when did they get saved? It was just like
amazing.
very
Yeah, it was
introduction.
meant to be, meant
It
to
really
be
was.
for sure.
Yeah.
So The Waterman, where did The Waterman come about? How did that come about? You said it's your sixth production together?
Yeah, it is. Well, we now have 4 kids. You know, I say now, our eldest is 19.
We've had them for a while.
We've had them for a while. So they're 19, 16, 13, and 9. And, you know, we love watching movies together. And, you know, I just found that some of the movies that I loved growing up, films like E.T., Stand By Me, The Goonies, Gremlins, Willow, Neverending Story, you know, we had to revisit those films in order to share films of that nature with our kids. And it got me thinking, why are there not more films like this? Films with magic and meaning, films that have reality and fantasy together, but they're actually about something. They elicit a conversation. You see the story through the eyes of a child, but you're not speaking down to children. Mm-hmm. You know, I loved those films growing up, and films that have those kind of themes that, you know, really resonate with us as Christians. You know, I remember seeing E.T. and looking at this family that were dealing with the fact that the father had left and the mother was coping with that, and the kids are now having to deal with that as well. You know, kids go through tough stuff as well. And so when The Waterman came our way, it felt like a throwback to those kind of films. And that's why I wanted to jump into it. And I also, you know, our kids are mixed race. And when I grew up, I never saw myself represented in those kind of films. And we're always looking for films that we can make that make them feel like they are represented in stories as central characters. And so, you know, that was partly why we jumped on board of this as well.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful family story. And the little boy in the movie is so phenomenal, like such a good actor. And I've seen him on TV, but to see him in this film was just amazing. There's a quote in the film that says, "Where do we go when we die?" And I just wanted to ask you guys, if you had to answer that, what would you say?
Wow. Well, heaven. In the film, Rosario's character has to give an answer, and it's a tough question to ask in a movie where you're appealing to a wide audience, but she gives a really great answer. What we believe personally is that we live once, we die once, we're judged once. Then if we're with Jesus, heaven is the only place we can be. It's he is the key, he is the way, he is the truth, he is the life. There is no way to the Father except through him. And it's not necessarily that heaven is the only space that the Father inhabits, but the way to the Father's heart, the way to be one with him, as Jesus prayed for us in John 17, is Jesus. It's to be one with him, to abide with him, that we may be one with the Father. That was Jesus' desire for us, that we would be one with the Father. And that for eternity is what we get to be.
And that's also one of the themes of the film, which is, Gunnar as a young kid, he doesn't have these revelations yet. And so, of course, with the possible loss of his mom, he's prepared to go and look for the waterman who supposedly has the key to immortality. But, he's looking in the wrong place for that immortality. And not only for that, he's looking in the wrong place to really be able to appreciate the love in his life. One of the gifts in life, one of the reasons why love here on earth is so precious is because it's finite. Our life here is not forever, but this is a blip in time in relation to eternity. And so, the idea is to enjoy every day, especially if you are around people you love. And for us personally, knowing that there is an eternal relationship with the Father, an eternal relationship with each other that is going to transcend anything and everything we can experience here.
It's so beautifully said. Jessica, I want to ask you, you are not only an actress, you lend your beautiful voice to this film. And the song, I just got done listening to it and it's so powerful. And a question that I had already was to talk about the devoted love of the son. He loved his mom so much that he risked his own life to try to find a cure for her. Can you kind of talk to that? And the song, it's about love. It's about that sacrificial love. Can you talk a little bit about what inspired that?
Yeah, Jeannie, that's exactly what the song is about. It's about that powerful, powerful sacrificial love, that when you truly love someone, it's not about what you're going to get from them, it's what you can give to them. And Lonnie's character in the movie is willing to give everything, the way Jesus gave everything for us. What love does is it doesn't seek its own. It's 1 Corinthians 13, and there are many references in the song to that beautiful, beautiful chapter from the Bible. But that's exactly it. The key theme of the film is sacrificial love, seeing what Lonnie will do, what Gunnar will do for his mother. And the song is purely a reflection of that. It's an expansion of that, giving it words, giving it melody, and giving it visuals too.
And David, in the film, we see your character, and I find it interesting with grief and how people handle grief differently. And there was moments where your son and the relationship with your son, there was tension, but really what it was is grief. You both were feeling the grief of almost, losing the woman that you love. 2020 was filled with a lot of grief. What are some ways that you would advise for people to handle grief? I feel like it's in the atmosphere. I'm a pastor's wife, so we're constantly, consoling and counseling people that are handling grief in this season in particular. What would you say is a good way to handle grief or difficult situations like this? Even children have to deal with these big grown-up things.
Well, during the course of making this film, my mom became ill and eventually passed away. She passed away 4 years ago. Oh, thank you. And she passed away just as this film was coming into our lives. And then my dad actually passed away last September. So, in the last 4 or 5 years, we lost both of my parents, and they were very close to us, very close to my kids as well.
They lived with us, so they were a very, very close family.
Yeah. And, I would say one of the things I've learned through that personal experience is to be kind to yourself, to be good to yourself, to be patient with with yourself, because you just don't know how grief is going to hit you. And, you know, as the eldest son, as the head of my home in my household, I felt the need to push aside my grief, especially with my mom. And I don't think I grieved as healthily, because I felt I needed to be strong for my brothers, for my dad, for my own family, for my kids. And so, you know, the other thing that got affected is my relationship with God, not in a faith way, but in my attitude towards prayer, because, you know, my mom had this aneurysm and she was in a vegetative state for 3 years. And so every time I prayed, it would be about wanting a miracle of my mom being brought back. And so prayer equaled pain for me. Prayer equaled hope deferred for me. And it took a while for me to be able to recalibrate that and come back to the fact that prayer is about relationship. Prayer is about the fact that I can still have joy even when I'm not happy, and it being a joy that surpasses my own understanding. And so that was something that helped me when my dad passed away. And there's almost a maturation in grief as well, weirdly enough. But it hit me, my dad hit me differently, and also would come at unexpected times. There's no easy way to walk the grief walk. I would just say be kind to yourself and be patient with yourself.
Well, that's beautiful advice. And I'm going to be echoing what you just said to some of my people for sure. You know, I love that in the film, and obviously I won't say when it happens, but despite the illness, you know, the mom, she prays to God at the, you know, and she shares, she's at the table and they're praying for their supper, and she shares gratitude. She shows gratitude. And for the everyday blessings that we have. What can we learn from that? You know, we can look at the world and it just seemed like such a big mess, and there's not a lot to be grateful for. And here was this woman dying and is able to show gratitude. What can we learn from that?
Yeah, I think we've all, as a global community, just gone through an event that really highlights how tough life can be, but yet how amazing life also is. The fact that we are alive is a mathematical miracle in and of itself, when you think about the probability of even being alive. And yes, life can be fraught with suffering, but if you happen to be one of the blessed ones who have either love in your life, where you have connected with God and you feel his love, or you have a family that love you, friends that love you, you know what love feels like, you are literally the richest of people here on planet Earth. There is no greater feeling, no greater attribute, no greater circumstance to find yourself in than to be loving someone and be loved. And that is something to consistently be grateful for. And that's basically what she prays in the film. And that's the revelation Gunna's character has in the course of the story.
Yes. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or something in particular you want audiences to take from watching The Waterman, or anything else you have coming up?
Okay.
Go ahead, baby.
Well, you know, my hope is that families will watch this together. They'll have a great time watching it, but it'll also elicit a conversation. I hope that parents appreciate their kids' emotional intelligence more. And I hope that kids are a bit more patient with their parents, because we get it wrong too.
Oh, well, that's beautiful. And that's exactly what the film was. It showed both sides, the children and the parents, and how it's just valuable. Well, thank you guys for your time and just your heart for the Lord. It's truly admirable. May the Lord continue to use you guys to be so bold and to provide such great entertainment for us. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jeannie.
Thank you so much.
All right. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.